At the start of this year, in December, we actually published our 2024 predictions. And we said that Bitcoin would trade to new all-time highs above $80,000 a coin. Based on what we're seeing in our ETF and these other ETFs, I think we have to revise that upwards. It could be 100,000, it could be 200,000, it could be higher than that.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. My goodness, is the price of Bitcoin just absolutely shocking everyone. Even some of the hardcore OGs in the space, including myself, had not anticipated a move of this magnitude. Now, obviously, we know that the ETFs are a big deal. If we have a look right here, when we were looking at this chart, we said this was a bullish megaphone pattern. And once we had that support right here, look at that price. And really, if we zoom into this area right here, it kind of looks like we're also consolidating as well. Now, we've been seeing a lot of bigger moves on Mondays, right? Bitcoin's been kind of sleeping on the weekends because that's when the institutions are asleep, so to speak. They don't really trade on the weekends. But that being said, there are now becoming two camps of people out there. There's the one side that's crazy bullish, Bitcoin to the moon. A bunch of new people are coming into the space. We're having $1 million Bitcoin by the end of next year. And then there's the other camp, maybe the PTSD guys, the old schoolers that are saying, hey, be careful, we're entering a critical level for Bitcoin and we may be due for a mid-cycle correction of up to 40 to 50% or even just a fake out. Now, we're going to go into this and I want to break this down in detail and I want to look at the actual charts, no BS, just the data that we have in front of us right now because we just had something, yes, guys, literally, we had one of the largest, most extreme signals that just flashed for Bitcoin and a few others as well. I want to talk about why this moment is extremely critical for Bitcoin, not to mention the fact that the OTC desks have apparently run out of Bitcoin, or at least there's a major Bitcoin supply crunch crisis happening right now. Now, we did warn about that. Is that 100% true? Well, we'll have a look into that, but what I can tell you right now, my friends, is that we are entering a volatile moment, and now is not the time to be sleeping. Now is the time to pay the most attention. So I also want to end on some really awesome charts that you guys have to look at that are really going to help hammer home where we are right now and where we could be headed. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it, guys. And I do want to just mention that if you want to keep your crypto safe, definitely get it off of the exchanges. And Grave does have a deal going on right now. There's only a day and 22 hours left, so it pretty much ends around sometime on Monday. And if you guys want, you can get 15% off if you guys want. I do have that link below in the description. If you want to use that, you can get the extra percentage off. So let's start right here. Let's start with what the media is hearing right now. You have Bill Miller IV, right? And he's over here talking about Bitcoin. And let me just start with this clip, and then we'll continue from that point.
Not only do you own it, in mid-January when we spoke, you spoke about the bull case, and it's more than doubled since then. Obviously, we know what Bitcoin prices themselves have done, but MicroStrategy, a bit of a leverage play on it. So I guess, what do you think at these levels and where can it go?
Oh, we absolutely love it still, Michael. Thanks for having me on. It's our largest holding at about 14.5%. And it still has a massive runway ahead of it. You know, it's our position that we are in the very, very early innings today of a massive capital repricing event. So we're going to the digital pricing of capital is becoming digital, okay? And so if you look at the data on Bitcoin right now, what you see is that the realized capitalization, this is very different. It's different than the market cap. It's the realized capitalization of Bitcoin. The average Bitcoin, what the realized cap shows you is the price at which every last Bitcoin has traded. That's 24,000 today. Why is that important? Well, it tells you that the average Bitcoin holder is up 150% on their investment right now. It also tells you that $500 trillion of fiat right now has been, $500 billion of fiat right now has been converted into Bitcoin. It's been repriced. There's hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital out there today, and we're only at 500 billion being repriced into Bitcoin. And we're right ahead of a halving event in April. So we are massive bulls on this. It's our biggest position.
So we know that there's about a 2.5x demand on the Bitcoin currently available, right? Obviously, they're eating it up faster than we have it. There's about 275,000-ish, purchases versus only about 25,100-ish, something like that, Bitcoin coming out each month. Obviously, at some point, we are going to hit a wall. And if you guys were following me on Twitter and you watched my video from 2 times ago, we were discussing that if they do, for example, if nothing changes, okay, and the demand stays the same, and the amount of supply gets taken off, and the miners keep having the same amount, which is going to get cut in half in April, remember, very soon, the halving, that would literally mean that all of the Bitcoin on exchanges would be gone in 8 months. Now, obviously, this is an extreme example. People are going to be taking profits. They're clearly going to be, selling some. So I don't think we're going to just run out of Bitcoin, let's be honest, but it's just something to think about when you actually, do those numbers in your head. Now, here's the thing that CryptoCon was pointing out. The issue that we're having right now, and this is something that I actually spoke with Crown Crypto about, was the fact that we have right here the MVRZ area where you get these mid tops. And you can see every single time we've entered into this area, it did not mean it was the end of the cycle, but there were a lot of 40% to even 50% pullbacks. You can see right here, as soon as we entered that area, we had the correction. As soon as we entered the area, correction. This was a major correction leading into the COVID crash, and we're in that area again. So if we're just going to base it on historical charts and how Bitcoin usually plays out, that would suggest historically that we are at the moment in the Bitcoin price cycle where we're going to have a mid-cycle crash. That's what the charts are saying. But here's the thing. History is not playing out the same way that it has before. In fact, I would argue that, through all the cycles I've been in, this is certainly one of the most unique cycles, right? Falling below the 200 weekly moving average, actually going below a previous all-time high, being so close to the previous all-time high, this close to a cycle, and tons of capital coming in via these ETFs. And this is the big thing that's changed. Look at this, guys. BlackRock's IBIT became the fastest ever to $10 billion in total assets ever. And it's kind of like British Hodl had pointed out. So you have Larry Fink, the man who convinced the government to print money and convinced every investor and every publicly listed company to allocate $50 trillion in a decade to changing the weather. He is now head of the Bitcoin marketing, and it's probably his last major play at a last hurrah legacy for BlackRock under Larry Fink's guidance. Now, look, I'm not like praising Larry Fink or anything like that. I get all the conspiracies, the agendas, I read all that crazy stuff. But the only thing I am saying is, as we have been saying, with this ETF, BlackRock was not going to launch an ETF, okay, with their big ego, only to then crash the price and wreck all their investors. I mean, what would that do for them? What would that do for their public perception, right? So that's something that you have to consider. And another thing is, when you're talking about the Bitcoin liquid versus illiquid supply, Houston, we have a problem. We've never had an ETF where the underlying asset had a limited supply. Let me say that again real quick. We have never had an asset in human history and in an ETF where there was a limited amount of the underlying supply. If ETFs buy the 30% of available Bitcoin, or those holders also refuse to sell, then we have a major problem. And like I'm Not the Wolf pointed out, look at the OTC desks. They have basically run out of crypto. Now, I do want to just say really quick, I do speak with people at OTC desks. They have not run out of crypto, okay? This chart right here, I don't know what they're sourcing. This might be more public OTC desks. The desk that I deal with, for example, they don't even advertise. Like, you have to be introduced via word of mouth, and they only work with large sums of money. Let me just say that. So, they are saying that they still have availability, but it is hard to place these larger orders, right? So there is Bitcoin still available, but the problem is when you're trying to do these big orders, like you got a guy coming in who wants $30 million, really, like 30 million, right, of Bitcoin. They're having difficulty being able to source that liquidity at that price. They're telling them, no, I mean, we can get some at this price, and then you're going to have to get some at this price, and then you're going to have to get some at this price, right? And this is what's making the price go up so fast, is they're trying to buy large amounts, but it's difficult to source the Bitcoin at the rate that they're trying to buy it, right? So are we fully 100% out? No, but it's honestly getting there. It is getting there. It's getting to the point where they may actually have to come out and say, hey, we can't get any Bitcoin. Or if you want some Bitcoin, you're going to have to pay much higher premiums than what it is that you're looking to get that Bitcoin for, right? But you know what? There may be a day in which, truthfully, we do run out of Bitcoin, and that is a possibility. It really could happen. I mean, look at the exchanges. This is the liquid exchanges, right? Only about 2 million coins and falling every single day. Every single time we come back here, it's getting lower and lower and lower and lower, right? I mean, if you look at back here, this was sort of last year in October, we had about, let's say, roughly 15%, and today we have only about 11% of all circulating on the exchanges. And this is exactly why Bitwise Chief Investment Officer is saying that we could reach these high levels because of just this simple page 1, chapter 1, supply-demand economics.
If you were to say it's going to go up, where do you think it's going to go?
Absolutely.
And describe exactly why.
Yeah, sure. At the start of this year, in December, we actually published our 2024 predictions. And we said that Bitcoin would trade to new all-time highs above $80,000 a coin. Based on what we're seeing in our ETF and these other ETFs, I think we have to revise that upwards. It could be 100,000, it could be 200,000, it could be higher than that. There's simply this massive supply-demand dynamic going on, net new demand and a fixed supply, and actually a reduction in new supply coming up in April with the halvening. Sometimes investing is complex. Sometimes it's easy. With Bitcoin right now, it's just about supply demand, and there's too much demand.
So this is where I want to get into the interesting part. I want to show you all the data that we have right now. I want to start with the simple pi cycle top indicator. And this is something that we've been using even without having institutions. This is just with mostly retail that's driven it, and this chart dates back to 2011 basically. And you can see that this is very, very good at calling around where we're at the top. It's usually a bit of a lagging indicator. It doesn't get it exact, but as you guys can see right here, we are nowhere close to having these two bands touch at all. So this signal tells us that we should in fact have more of a run for the Bitcoin price. The other thing, and some people laugh at Plan B because he didn't get to his $100,000 Bitcoin that he had called in the last cycle, which by the way, I do think $100,000 Bitcoin was possible last cycle, and I've gone into reasons why. You gotta, I wasn't gonna go into a rant, but I guess I'm gonna go into a rant. You gotta really think about this, okay? Bitcoin went down to 15,500, 8, whatever it was, okay? Do you realize how insane that time period was? We had FTX collapsing, Three Arrows Capital, all these different, people getting liquidated. We had Celsius, we had BlockFi, right? We had the Binance FUD. The SEC kept denying ETFs. It was nothing but terrible news and scandals and pretty much the worst possible situation you could have ever imagined for crypto to be in. And yet we went down to 15.5, and now, year and a half later, whatever it is, Bitcoin is literally almost back at the all-time high. So a lot of those bad actors got washed out. It's a totally different ballgame right now, and now you can actually truly get that price discovery. But anyway, I digress. Just when people say, oh, Bitcoin, this is, I heard somebody, I'm sorry, again, somebody that I know, and I'm not going to call them out. If you know who it is, literally says that what we're experiencing right now is a bear market rally. A bear market rally. I'm just going to leave it at that. So anyway, moving on, what I also wanted to mention is that we got this signal flashing for the first time on Lux Algo indicator. Not the first time ever, but the first time in this cycle. And basically, when we flip from this area on the monthly down into this blue area, it is pretty much dead on confirmation, bull run in full effect, and generally speaking, we have at least minimally 6 more months of upside. So according to this chart, and we go back here, we had a whole year of upside, right? So this is telling us that we are definitely in that area. You can see it flashed right there. And, just to give you a kind of perspective, the last time that this signal flashed, Bitcoin essentially pumped 365%, and it only took about 151 days. So that goes to show you how quick and how fast this price action can move. And this is what I was trying to explain to everybody when everybody was bored and crypto was just going sideways and it seemed like nothing was happening. Well, don't get too comfortable, because now is the time where the FOMO will start to kick in. When you start seeing these 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, who knows, maybe $10,000 daily candles, which I guarantee you we're going to see one this bull run, that is when things get crazy, when you're going on that parabolic uptrend, right? And as we have on the wave edge, as the wave edge starts to cross into this area right here, that generally marks the bottom. And if we have a look at where we are right here, just kind of doing a very rough calculation of this area, that sort of puts us back around November of 2020 of last year, where the Bitcoin price was literally around $17,000. Just to put it into perspective where we could be at this point in the cycle. And if you want to just look at one of the most amazing indicators, I'm not trying to shill it, but my goodness, Crypto Face killed it. Probably, this is actually hands down my favorite indicator, not just for crypto, but for any charts in general. Market Cipher. If you guys don't have it, man, I mean, I have a link below if you want. You could support the channel. You don't have to use it. You should just get this thing. It's amazing. But as you guys can see right here, this shows the money flow in real time, okay? Now, the thing about this is not a lagging indicator. This isn't a moving average. This isn't a, Gaussian, whatever. No, this is an actual live indicator that actually kind of arguably tells you what's going to happen before it happens. And you could see, look at how high this money flow gets. Look at how crazy this money flow gets. See this green right here, guys? And if you go to right where we are right now, look at where we are. We're just getting started, and yet Bitcoin price is above $60,000. This is an unprecedented move that we've never seen before. And, again, just to put it into perspective, where were we roughly last cycle when we were around these levels? The Bitcoin price was somewhere around, again, here we go, the $18,000 to $20,000 range, right? And Bitcoin more than doubled since that level. So considering that we're seeing all these traditional, indicators flashing as well, this one right here, the liquidity cycle, you can see as it starts to expand. Well, I mean, look, we've basically just started the expansion right here. Based on this, why would we all of a sudden just go the other way? Well, everyone's just going to start selling their Bitcoin tomorrow for no reason. That's why a lot of people trying to call tops right now. A lot of people trying to say, it's going up too fast. It's not sustainable. How is it not sustainable? Because it seems to be sustaining itself pretty good. You know what's not sustainable is the amount of supply versus the demand, not the move itself, right? So I'm not saying, and I have gone through cycles. I've seen 50% crashes, but the crazy thing, this is insane. You realize that if we had a 50% crash from these levels, we're only going back to 30,000. Now, I don't know when, I don't know who's watching this video when you got in, but $30,000 is kind of where 30 to 40 is where we sort of should be historically leading into the halving. So even if we were to get this crazy 50% crash that everybody's talking about, that would only put us literally right on track to where we always are in the halving cycle anyway. We are so ahead of schedule. And this is so much more exuberant than we've seen before. Just coming over here, you guys could see that once we enter into this green zone on the guppy, we stay in this for a very, very long time. And one of the most impressive things about this chart, again, very simple line, if you take this peak right here from 2017 and you extend it right here to where we had it as support, look at this, guys. We didn't even have it act as resistance. I actually said resistance in my other video, and I'm sorry, I meant to say support. It blasted through it, acted as support, and now it's continuing to the upside. I mean, literally, this is the all-time high. This is where we are. So yeah, maybe we come down and retest it. Maybe we do retest that level and bounce around and consolidate, but what does it matter, guys? At this point, it's just more opportunities. So when everyone's asking me to kind of do this TA now, I mean, I can give you plenty of TA to the downside. I can tell you all the possible places we can go down to, but at this point, we don't have any TA up here. There's nothing I can talk about except looking at some of these Fibonacci's. That's really all we can go to. So if you want to just kind of hear me out here, the last cycle, we reached the 3.618 Fibonacci, and that's what got us to the $69,000 Bitcoin. Well, if Bitcoin goes up to that level today, that would put Bitcoin at $210,000 by the end of this cycle. Even if we don't get to the 2.618, even if we just get, the 3.6, even if we get to the 2.618, right? Which is this red line right here. And again, this parabola could break. I don't know if we're going to stay parabolic forever. Parabolic trends are pretty arbitrary anyway. They break and then they reform, they break and then they reform. But, if we did continue to the upside, even just hitting, the first right here, 1.618 puts us at $102,000 Bitcoin, and one level less than where we hit last time puts us at $156,000 Bitcoin this cycle. So this is really all we have to go for at this point, and obviously for Bitcoin, the sky is the limit. So ultimately, I just wanted to kind of it's a bit of a rant of a video today, but I just want to let you guys know that it is different this time. And if you've been in these cycles, I know it's hard. You know, when you go through 70%, 80% crashes and you watch your portfolio lose 90%, right? Because you're in these like shit coins and stuff like that. I get it. I've been there, guys, but it is a different monster this time. The ETF is sucking up so much Bitcoin and injecting so much capital with such a limited supply. Remember, the first time we've ever had an asset to ever have a limited supply as an ETF in history. This is literally history in the making. And here's something interesting that MD Bitcoin pointed out. If you have more than 0.25 Bitcoin, congrats, you will probably own more Bitcoin than the millionaires who don't have any today. Here's why. 93% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist are already in the market. There's only going to be 21 million, but there's probably even less than that available just because of all the Bitcoin that's been lost over time. People threw their laptops out. They forgot their private keys, right? So there's probably an estimated maybe 4 million coins that are gone forever. So whatever, he just says, let's say 15. For context, that means if a millionaire wanted just half a Bitcoin, they couldn't obtain it due to the supply shortage. As of 2023, there were 64 million millionaires. Divide those numbers, and it indicates that anyone buying could only acquire at about 0.23 if every single millionaire attempted to buy Bitcoin today. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. That means that there's unfortunately going to be some people that either aren't going to be able to get some Bitcoin or they're going to be buying at much higher prices, right? And here's something pretty funny. So you might remember that when the ETF launched, Vangaurd was one of the few that said that they were not going to offer Bitcoin ETFs to their clients. This is specifically from Tim Buckley. This is very recent. This was 3 weeks ago. Tim Buckley, CEO, says, I will not allow Bitcoin ETFs as long as I'm CEO. Well, looks like Tim Buckley is actually about to step down. Do you think that's a coincidence? Tim Buckley comes out and says, we're not going to offer Bitcoin ETFs to our clients. And 3 weeks later, he says he's going to step down. Just saying. Interesting coincidence. I mean, there's even the coincidence that people have been talking about Jeff Bezos possibly buying Bitcoin, right? Because just as Jeff Bezos was offloading billions of dollars of Amazon stock, the Bitcoin price just conveniently happens to pump at the same time. Again, could be a coincidence. Nobody really knows, but it is something that you have to think about, right? Definitely something to think about. And this is where I'm going to end on my final rant. And this is it for the video. This is a big post that I posted over on Twitter. This is the Bitcoin yearly return chart for the last 10 years. Now, as you guys could see, there's only been 3 years where Bitcoin actually produced negative returns, which means the other years were positive. So this is the thing. I have spoken to people throughout my crypto journey that have come to me, and we're talking about Bitcoin, and they're like, I bought some Bitcoin back in, X year, whatever, and I just lost my ass on it. And I lost so much money, and I can't get myself to get back into Bitcoin. I can't do it. It's too volatile, right? But the thing is how did you lose money? If anybody bought Bitcoin at any point in the last 10 years, it would be virtually impossible for you to be down. In fact, it's a proven statistic that if you had a 2% Bitcoin portfolio and a 98% cash portfolio, like together, right? 2% Bitcoin, 98% cash, you would outperform the S&P by a landslide over any 4-year period. And anyone that is held at any point should theoretically be up. So you know what this means? It means that these people that lost money on Bitcoin, they obviously let their emotions get a hold of them. They sold for a loss, and that tells me that it was greed, it was emotions, it was herd mentality, and they didn't take time to educate themselves. Because if you educate yourself about the financial system and you educate yourself about what Bitcoin actually does and how it works and what its monetary policy is, then it would be a no-brainer, and the lower the price goes, the more excited you would be getting to buy more. I mean, I've been going through it. I mean, yeah, I love seeing my gains go up, but at the same time, I'm sad. I used to be able to buy a Bitcoin for $20,000. Now I only get a third of a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And it's only going to get worse as time goes on. And if you truly understand Bitcoin, it's pretty simple. You buy Bitcoin, you do nothing, and you watch your wealth grow exponentially. It's really that simple, but a lot of people tend to overcomplicate it. You know, I mean, I could just come on the video and just say that every day, you know, but that wouldn't be as fun, would it? But anyway, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Remember, if you guys do want to do the Apex bonus, there's different tiers. You can get up to 15,000 ES Apex, so they're still running that promotion as well below. But ultimately, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Hope you enjoyed today's video. A little bit more of a perspective-driven video. Had a few rants in there, but I really just want to help hit home, drive home where we are, the value of this underlying asset class, and how big this really is, okay? So, you know, if we get, again, if we get a dip, I don't think we're going to get a 50% dip, but if we do get a 50% dip, okay, that would be the buying opportunity of a lifetime. I would be backing up the truck and loading it up at those levels. And to be honest with you, I think there's too many people who want that. And when everybody wants something, they usually don't get it. So that's it for me. You guys rock. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I love you. Hope you're having a great day. If you guys do want to learn how to trade, check out these tutorials. Femex is really awesome if you want a centralized exchange. There's also Apex as well, decentralized exchange. A lot of people have been really enjoying Apex. The only thing with Apex is sometimes when you go to withdraw, because it's decentralized, it's on the Ethereum network, I've noticed that the gas fees can be a little bit high, but they do have a slower withdrawal period. So if you don't need your money immediately, you can save a lot on fees. And it's like, last time I checked, it was like 60 cents a dollar to do a trade. Pretty cheap, guys. So that's it for me. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.